Yo, I am hyphen X, and welcome to the Great Conversation Podcast, where we indulge in healthy dialogue about topics that are to society and culture. Man, oh man, you guys know that here at the Great Conversation, man, we love having people on that we know of but don't know a lot about. So we put that we were looking for guests to come on to the show, and we got some responses, and so we reached back and we got some great guests. We got some had some great guests on our sidebar and right here on the Great Conversation podcast. Okay, we want you guys to also remember to follow us on Anchor. You can follow us on Spotify, follow us on Google Podcasts, and on Facebook at the Great Conversation. Let's talk. Okay, right there on your Facebook page and all our Instagrams and all that good stuff. Everything is in the bio. Okay, so I'm about to go ahead and I'm going to bring on Brendan Rabbitt.
What's going on,
What's
man?
up, bro?
Not much, man. How you feeling?
What's the word, man? Hey, man, I'm
Just
making it, bro. I can't complain.
just getting ready to, just taking it one day at a time. Just focusing on being the best version of myself.
There you go. The best version of yourself is all you can be. That should be the goal for everyone. Now, Brendan, tell the people who you are, what you do.
Well, my name is Brendan Rabbitt. I'm 23 years old right now. I like to consider myself a little bit of a blue collar worker, a little bit of an activist, and a little bit of an independent journalist and photographer myself.
Oh yeah, most definitely, man. I would definitely classify you as a blue collar, activist and independent journalist. So that's very accurate. all those things were very accurate of you. All right, so let's just hop
Most
right into
definitely.
it, bro. So like, what? let's just hop back into. Let's hop right into it. So what made you get involved with the protests and the occupation in Rockford, Illinois?
Well, I'm not since I was I'd say since maybe I was about 14, 15 years old, I've kind of had that distrust towards law enforcement. And for a long time, the city of Rockford, Winnebago County didn't really have a real protest movement, so I was having to take my thoughts and beliefs into the at least the protests in Chicago, which I could probably take myself back to maybe about age 16 or 17 or so, with like when I first started beginning to begin my career activism. And up until I was aware of some of the situations that were going on in the city of Rockford with the Rockford Police Department. Like the few that really stuck out with me were Mark Barmore, Eddie Patterson, and Javon Fresco. But I never really saw any major major events to show in support of justice for these individuals. So I was unable to really take be able to take my voice my concerns and my opinions to the community, because at least the people I was surrounded by where I live don't exact me we don't exactly see eye to eye on a lot of social issues, and amongst them being the issues of police misconduct and police terrorism. And
Okay,
for
so you said you're about. Oh, go ahead.
No, I say no. Go ahead.
All right. So you say at the age of around 14, you started to have a untrustworthy relationship with law enforcement. What brought that about?
I mean, I think a lot of it was just because I had some of my classmates. I mean, while I went to a predominantly white high school, I noticed that many of my the few classmates I had that were people of color were often having completely different experiences in with law enforcement as opposed to the predominantly white student body. And once I slowly but surely started to do my own sort of investigation and research into the matter, I noticed that there's a lot of discrepancies as opposed to what they tell you. They tell you that law enforcement is supposed to do versus what we've actually seen with our own eyes. And I would say from that point on, I started kind of divulging into the to the bigger issue, like the issue that wasn't being talked about, at least where I went to school, because I can, like, a firm example that I can clearly remember was, I would say, it was about my senior year in high school. I believe we were discussing either Michael Brown or the situation with Eric Gardner in New York, and everyone in the class was going off and off about how the cop was always right, and I kind of just looked around at everybody, and I just was like, well, in my opinion, the police are the boogeyman. They can do whatever they want to you, but you can't do anything back. To which someone on the other side of the classroom was just like, well, then don't break the law then. And from that point on, I kind of just realized that, like, all right, I'm in for a long fight. I'm in for a long fight if to at least try to figure out what what I'm able to do to provide justice for this unjust system. Hey, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just got an email saying that my case has been dismissed.
Oh, wow. So yeah, let's just dive.
Yeah,
Guys, just to let you know, this everything is really live here. My man's just got an email talking about his case was dismissed. Let's just dump. I have more questions about that, but let's just dump into this. So
Okay.
let's talk about your case that was dismissed, because now you have the freedom to talk about it. So
Yes, sir.
tell me, what were your charges? What were your charges, and why was your case dismissed?
Originally during my case stems back from the Back the Blue riot that took place at the Winnebago County Jail back in August. And originally, when they during my assault, when they were having me slammed on the ground, one of the things I do remember saying was they wanted to get me on a mob action and inciting a riot. And as they brought me in, they put me into intake. They my mugshot had had a charge of mob action and nothing else. And by the time I was I was posted to bail and released, all I had was resisting an officer on there, just one count of resisting an officer. And from that point, I would say from that point forward, it was just kind of I was trying to figure out, like, I mean, since I know there are a lot of people out there who at least saw the only the partial clip I was able to show of what happened, and most people were able to say he's not resisting. Like, come on, he's like, if you just saw the and like, eventually, if you're friends with me, I'll reshare that post so guys can get some context as to what I'm referring to. But they mainly just were trying to just what I believe was a targeted arrest in order to kind of push that you shouldn't mess with us kind of agenda that the city of Rockford and Winnebago County sheriffs are well known for.
Why do you believe you were targeted?
Personally, I have this. I'm pretty because right the moments before the chaos ensued, I kind of had this. I had a direct I kind of had made this direct eye contact with Deputy Chief Dominic Barcelona, the Winnebago County Sheriffs. And it was just kind of like, it was one of those things. I would say maybe we were standing about 300 feet away from each other. But I could clearly tell that him and I both, like, locked eyes. And I saw that, kind of could tell that look in his eyes. Like, your guys, like, I'm going to get you today. Because one thing that I'd say maybe about a dozen people who witnessed my assault told me that Dominic Barcelona ran from one side of the parking lot all the way to where I was, and personally took me into custody on top of ripping my mask off in front of right after they dispersed pepper spray, while he wasn't wearing a mask during a pandemic as well.
Wow. So I'm glad that you brought up. I'm happy that your case was dismissed, and I think a lot of that has to do with the actual video footage of your assault. So many assaults are not caught on tape before they kind of stick. So I'm very happy that happened for you. Mm-hmm. Now, back to your backstory here. You're talking about you're 14 years old. That's what
Mm-hmm.
got you. You start seeing the injustices and inconsistencies on how law enforcement was treating non people of color, and also people. The difference between them and the people of color at your high school, which was predominantly white.
Correct.
And you took that personal. You sympathized with that. Some would say that maybe it's your white guilt that makes you want to stand up and be violent for people of color. What do you say to that?
Well, I mean, and this is so. This is like I want to answer this with a direct quote from Malcolm X. Is like especially this is something that I've kind of thought about later, like especially later on since May 30th. It's like you don't have to be an intelligent human. You don't have to be in a. You don't have to be a man to fight for freedom. All you have to do is be an intelligent human being. And I personally consider myself to be relatively intelligent enough to know that the injustices is and the injustice is something that if you have at least a decent conscience, you should be standing up against it. And among that is another thing is the one of the codes of Islam is to fight for social justice. And I'm afraid, since being a firm believer in Islam, it's only in my duty as a Muslim to campaign for social justice for all.
So you guys have heard. I know a lot of people are probably like, "What just happened?" Listening to this interview right now. Yes, we are speaking with a man named Rabbitt, a white man named Rabbitt, 23 years old, and the white man named Rabbitt just says he has a duty to Islam. That is exactly right. How the hell did a
I know it's
23-year
I
old white boy become a follower of Allah? What the fuck?
how did a 23 year
How
old
that
how did a
happen?
23-year-old
Yeah, what happened, bro?
Well, first of all, I'd say I'm
How'd you get
23.
there?
I'm gonna be 20. I'll be 24 on March 15th. I've been a Muslim since I've actually remembered this day very clearly in my life, but it's January 2nd, 2015. So at that time, I would have been 17 years old, and with
Okay.
that, it was just I remember again. This is just again kind of just noticing like this false fed like the false fed propaganda that we were so used to seeing on the news of just jihadists thousands of miles away. And it also intrigued me to see it's like okay, like I'm not gonna lie, I definitely explored Islam just to be able to say, oh, this is where they promote terrorism. And I kind of just kept reading. I was like, because I was at the same time I was on a I was trying to figure out things from I was trying to figure out things on a spiritual level myself. And as I kept reading it, I was like, huh, I actually agree with that. I agree. Like I was seeing a lot of that, and I remember I believe it was my first trip to the masjid. I heard who he's now a friend of mine. He called the adhan, which is the call to prayer, and I remember hearing it, and I just remember just feeling just like goosebumps, and I was just like, I guess I realized like I just kind of felt like I kind of need Islam in my life. That feeling of peace that I had at that moment right there. I was just like, this is a this is a beautiful feeling that I just a beautiful feeling right here, and I cherished it from that moment on.
So I want to make sure I heard you correctly, okay? So you're saying that you went into studying Islam to try to debunk Islam to find out like this is
Yeah,
where oh, okay. Wow.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty powerful. So cuz no, because you said something earlier. I'll just call it your bio. You said something earlier in bio that you couldn't voice a lot of your opinions based off of the environment which you were in.
Right.
I'm kind of paraphrasing what you said,
Hmm.
which alluded to how your family may had certain beliefs and you didn't feel comfortable expressing your newfound beliefs around your family who taught you to research
Oh,
these jihadists and you found a lot kind of like,
well, I mean, it
is that what
wasn't.
you're saying?
I wouldn't necessarily say it was my fam. I wouldn't necessarily say it's my family because I was about to say my like my parents like to consider themselves pretty progressive. I don't. I mean, we obviously divulge and they skew off in various different areas, but I do remember one thing that is like there was never really like they weren't ever really like upset about it because my uncle was married to a woman that she was raised Muslim. So it's like she like the idea of Islam has already been sort of like kind of like it's been a little bit in there, but it wasn't like nobody was like nobody was really just actively practicing or saying like, hey, we know like we don't like we weren't like actively practicing religion as is before I decided to become a Muslim.
And what were you before you were a Muslim?
I mean, if we have to say anything, I would guess it was gonna be like agnostic. I would say because I mean I've looked into various sects of Christianity. I've looked into a little bit of Buddhism and Hinduism, but like in my opinion, always thought that Islam kind of just suited what I believed in.
And what is that? What you believe in?
Personally, that I just that there is no that there's no and that God is or Allah as we refer to him as is like it can't be brought into the like into the form of a man, which should be like what's something that the Christians believe in the Trinity, and I never really saw that as something that I could see. And not only that, it was when I was reading the Quran. You can read the Quran, and you can see all these things that were proven by science hundreds of years after they were spoken by the Prophet, peace be upon him, and revealed to him. And I would say one of those things that I would personally say that kind of really stuck out to me is up in Alaska. I believe it's up in Alaska. It's there's two bodies of water where the water meets, but it doesn't mix, and that was something that was mentioned. It's mentioned in the Quran, and when I read that, I was just like, that just sounds kind of strange. Like that just doesn't sound
Mhm.
scientifically possible. And then I just kind of took a quick Google trip, and I was just like, oh, like this is real. This is actually real. Like this is actually occurring. And then I kind of looked at it. I was like, how did an illiterate merchant know from what is now modern day Saudi Arabia? How did he know this how did he know this almost for 1,000 years ago before the advent of technology, and before that side of the earth had even been discovered? So it just definitely made me think like maybe there is a higher power.
Yeah, I think more so. See, I would look because one of the things you said is that Allah or God he cannot take a man. So I would look at it more so as if like how this water, this fresh water to mix with this salt water, and there's no wall or barrier. All praises be to
Mm-hmm.
Allah. Opposed to being to taking the route, the thinking of the prophet and how he knew this thousands of years ago before the advent of technology. Because to me, that's almost that's almost believing in the Holy Trinity right there. To me,
Um,
personally,
I mean, because like, well, the thing
in
is,
a roundabout way.
I mean, and I think I should definitely try to like elaborate, kind of clarify these. I can definitely see where you
Oh,
understand
go
like
ahead. Yeah.
the comparison from the Trinity. What I should say is like that in Islam we believe like part of the and this is the testimony. This is how you become Muslim. This is how you become Muslim. But what you say would be Ashhadu la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu rasulullah, which in English would be there is no I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and the Muhammad peace be upon him is his servant and final messenger, which is merely just he merely just delivers the word. He just delivers the word of Allah as upon like he doesn't have he's not really like I would say he's like the closest thing to kind of like an intermediary, but like the idea that God or Allah
Like he
is
doesn't have powers.
No, no,
Like he doesn't have powers. Okay.
no. He
Mm-hmm.
can't make. He can't turn water into wine or walk over water. Like he's merely
Mm-hmm.
he was merely a mess. He was merely a messenger.
Okay, so I can understand that translation. I can understand that. I can get that. That would change the difference between a savior and a messenger. Correct?
Right,
Would you agree with
right.
that? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So here you are trying to debunk jihadis and say like I'm going to read the Quran and right here Quran says that justifies terrorism, and in that in your quest to find that, you actually found some peace, and you said that you wanted to see what that peace was all about.
yeah. Most
Now,
definitely.
and then your family has already been introduced to a Muslim s lifestyle through the marrying of an uncle to a woman who was raised Muslim,
Correct.
and so she kind of already had with the idea.
Yeah, I would
Now,
say.
I'm also seeing in the background. I'm not. I don't find myself to be like well versed in flags and whatnot.
Uh
But I'm
huh.
also seeing is that the Mexican flag that I'm seeing in the
Yeah, I
background?
would say this is for me. I mean, anybody who knows me knows that I got a lot of love for the Hispanic population, and I would say this is I also because I remember I got that flag at a I got that at a Super Clasico, which is the soccer game between Club Guadalajara and Club America, and like I said, I have a lot of I got a lot of love for lot of love for not just Mexican, the Mexican population, but a lot of just all of Latin America in general.
All right, so real question, bro. I want you to answer this question truthfully, man, no bias, okay? Real talk.
Okay.
How do you feel about white people, man? How do you feel about y'all?
Ah. Uh, okay. Well, it's the white look. Like in my opinion, like the white people I think are cool.
Like
Y'all
your
cool.
people,
Ain't nothing.
like your
But
race
like
of people, bro. Like what you think,
but
bro? Your people, bro.
I feel like a lot of us as I feel like a lot of us as white Americans, particularly like white people, particularly white men, have this belief ingrained in their system that the world is supposed to work for them, and if the world doesn't work for them, well, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure it works for me. And that's where you lead. That's where you see a lot of the like a lot of the like the failures of like the failures of modern economics, and how you see men like Donald Trump rise about is because of that idea of white entitlement, which to me is, I think, like I think the like it does, like I'm not saying that white privilege isn't real, because it truly is, and it's truly one of those systems that's definitely destroyed the world. But I feel like a lot of us as white people just we kind of need to step back and realize that I would say a lot of the I think a lot of the like a lot like times are changing, like especially I've noticed this between the comparison between the generation of like my generation of white people versus the older generation of white people, where we definitely, like, my generation is, like, as more of a whole, is starting to see through the patriarchy and the racism that seems to come about amongst the white population. So I
So
think
let me
if
ask you. Let me ask you this: what i- what is the beef between, let's say, your generation of white males versus the older generation of white males? What is the beef?
well, I think a lot of the ways is like the older generations definitely promoted more of like a toxic masculinity that, like, I mean, don't get some of this current generation have seemed to embrace, but a lot of us have seemed to really notice the damage that it's like the damage that it's done to like damage that's done to the world, and not just to humans like one on one. And I feel like it's mostly the attitudes, and then I think it's also a lot of I think it has a lot to do with economics. I think it has a lot to do with economics as well, because of some of the systems that the idea of I just read this the other day, that the idea of the credit score wasn't brought about until 1989, and I feel like I feel like that being promoted to promoted by the older the older generations is kind of a way to kind of entrap us. And I feel that a lot of it is kind of just they want to complain about a lot of old white men want to complain about how the younger generations don't do anything, this and that, when in truth is we're not able to do anything because the same the same ideas and rules that you set out for that you put out for us. And they don't want to take responsibility. And then you look at the idea of just Washington, where the average age of somebody in Washington is well over the age of 65, and it doesn't I don't feel any representation with some guy 70 years old is making decisions on my behalf when he hasn't lived a day in my life. He hasn't lived a day in the life of one of my comrades, or with me and my comrades as well, and we're trusting this guy to
I've never heard that. I've never heard a white person say that you feel as if you have no representation in Washington. Sounds crazy. As a man,
I
sounds
wouldn't
to me.
necessarily. I mean, let me elaborate.
Yeah.
To the people, because I could definitely see some people just getting really angry about me saying this. In the aspect of a white, in the aspect it's in the aspect of white male interest being white male interest being represented in Washington. Yeah, I mean, there's the skin color, but as being a Muslim male, and especially being a white Muslim male, and being surrounded by all these different cultures, I have personally yet to meet an actual candidate who appeals to me in that sense,
So would you say that religion trumps race for you?
Oh, I mean, one of the biggest core beliefs, and it's unfortunately not something really practiced amongst Islam, is the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that the original quote was there's no superiority over a black or a black man or a red man. Red man was in this context was referring to the Arabs, and there's no superiority over the Arab over the black man, except in piety and deeds, which basically means that we as Muslims, we are not supposed to consider ourselves to be superior in the aspect of our ethnicity, only in the and even then we shouldn't be considering ourselves to be superior except in the idea of just pious and good deeds.
So more so be superior within action and not so much apology. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What you do, your deeds. Yeah. So let me ask you this. So we often talk. Go ahead.
I would say, but even then, one of the main things you're supposed to do as a Muslim is you're supposed to humble yourself. So you shouldn't be you shouldn't be arrogant about your piety and the good deeds you do, because it's not really it kind of takes away from the purpose of the deed if you're arrogant about it.
I know a lot of Christians that kind of feel like that too. Firmly, because maybe it's just because I'm in the media and whatnot. I believe that in order for us to counteract bad deeds, good deeds also have to be seen. So I'm not opposed to people videotaping themselves helping the homeless or at some type of charity event, as long as the intention is to show that there's good still being done. I have no problem
Right.
with. Now, a lot of us talk about, what I'm saying, on the show. We talk about, generational curses being passed down from generation to generation and whatnot. So even as a white, like even as blacks have been affected by slavery, Jim Crow, civil rights, Obama, Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, you know what I'm saying? All this, as we've been traumatized by this, so has white America as well. Because at some point you had to be taught, and it sounds like you broken out of the normal white male ideology. Would you agree with that? That you broken from the a white man to traditional white male ideology?
Hold on. I'm sorry. I apologize. You were cutting out. You were cutting out a lot.
Okay.
Cutting out a lot just
Okay.
then. I think I got it back up. I think I got it back there.
Okay. Would you say that you have broken away from the traditional white male ideology?
Almost, almost definitely. I mean, like I just want to give I just want to give an example, and this one makes me laugh. This one makes me laugh a lot. No conozco los gringos que hablan español como yo. And that basically
What?
says I don't know a lot of white men. I basically I said I don't know a lot of white men that speak Spanish like I do. And
That's
like
funny. So like,
that's not, and like it's not just that. It's just like I feel like a lot in like a lot of different aspects. Like I've definitely broken away from like the mainstream white male car like the white male culture, because like personally in my opinion it's just it never really appealed to me, and I always thought it was just I always low key kind of thought it was kind of like closetly racist as well, you know.
yeah, I can understand that. I can hear you on that. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, because here on the Great Conversation podcast, we like to be transparent. What I need for you, Rabbitt, to help the other young white males that are trying to break that ideology from the traditional white male mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me what type of mindset did you have, that you as a white male, what type of mindset did you have to break away from?
Um, I feel like a lot of like I think a lot of it is just that aspect that like for one that like the world doesn't really revolve around you, and it's just like among that's I would say that's the first one. And then a lot of it is also just like everyone like, and this is something that I really this is something I noticed like in order like if you really want to break away from that you have to start becoming, instead of just like yeah, it started being like non-racist. You have to start actively being anti-racist as well. So you like in order to like be able to call it out, like whether it be systematic or like in like person to person, like you have to be able to address and call out racism for what it is, and not be able to say that, oh, I'm not racist, but you're still laughing at that racist joke that somebody told. And I feel like that as well. And you have to look at it also as like how despite how these systems of of politics and economics where may work out for you, as they work out for you, understand that millions of other people are being exploited in order for you to gain what you have. And personally, as an like I'm a little bit more of an empathetic person, and it's just like I kind of just look at all the situations going on in the current world. It's like I don't like I know as a white male this stuff like this the things that are happening are supposed to benefit me, but I don't really want I don't agree with it, and I don't want the benefit. And And it's just you have to break away from that mindset. You just have to break away from that mindset and just do what you can to give back.
I definitely understand that. I remember being at the down at was it City Market? Yeah, down at City Market where the police started to advance, and I saw a herd, a herd of white people, and I heard one of the guys say, "Shield around black people. Use your privilege."
Yeah, definitely.
I that is it's that is that is anti-racism. Can you tell
Oh, that's
me
anti. That's
like
anti-racism to the core.
like can you tell me at some point like how have you used your white privilege to help progress the movement here in Rockford?
I mean, personally, it's as I mentioned before. Like I went to a predominantly white high school, and there's still a lot of people. I mean, there's still a lot of people that I went to school with that I still interact with on a consistent basis, whether it be through town or on the internet. And one thing that I've noticed is that all these kids that I went to school, like all these kids I went to school with, who love to claim that they were from Rockford, like Rockford this, Rockford that, and either choose don't know what's going on in their city. And there are a lot of people who still choose to be silent. So at least from my perspective, I try my best to be able to explain whether you I know understand that sometimes I'm a little abrasive about it, but like I like to really explain what the city of Rockford and what Winnebago County is doing in regards to the protesters and the demonstrations, and as well as the occupation of Rockford. And I mean, for time to time, I might get somebody who will be like, "Oh, I heard about that," or like, "I know there's people in front of City Hall, but like they don't really have any like real idea about what's going on." And personally, for myself, I like to use I would consider that I use my privilege to kind of inform people on what's going on. But I also encourage them to listen to Black and Brown voices and to help uplift those voices instead, because as a white man, I don't need my voice to be uplifted any more than it already is.
Can you tell me the difference between how the police in the city of Rockford treat the protesters versus how they treat, let's say, counter protesters?
Um. Okay. What I was gonna say, I think I want to give a firm example. I want to give the example I want to give about that was you can look at we could look at what happened with we can look at what happened with over the summer at City Market with Emily Cahill, and how she is a counter protester, as well as her followers were able to get help in coordination with the police department, while anything that the Mayfair like protesters and were attempting to do would be actively stopped by law enforcement, amongst them like kettling tactics. Um, and one thing that I noticed is the counter protesters were basically able to go up to the police and say, "Hey, this guy," like, and even if it may have not even been true, like, "Hey, like this guy did such and such, go get him." And the response would be that the would be law enforcement just tackling and brutalizing people until they're knocked unconscious for 10 minutes, and then on top of it, refusing to allow any medics to give treat those individuals for their wounds, and then immediately picking them up and throwing them in jail on these on charges on charges that were commit like these people. Like if somebody was getting charged with aggravated battery to a police officer, that was like that person got beat up by law enforcement and then was charged with aggravated battery because the officers hurt their hands or fell or something like that. And I think,
Right.
in my opinion, And this is something that I've brought up to I've brought up at City Hall, like not I would I've, at City Hall meetings, at the excessive force meetings they had last fall. Is I brought this up. I would bring this up to Dan O'Shea and Tom McNamara to their face. Like, you allow your supporters to do whatever they want. But if these roles were reversed just a little bit, there'd be 30. You would have 30 cops on top of these on these people until they weren't able to breathe, and then you would try to and then you go out and attempt to justify it to the media, so you can portray this wicked image that these protesters are doing this and that, when in all actuality the police are the ones committing these acts of terrorism.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like I've been, you can quote me. I say this often. If you look at the charges, you would think that the pros were beating the police ass. You know what I'm saying? If you actually look at the charges, and that's just not the case. That's not the case. Now
No,
I want to something like real talk, Rabbit. Like when people hear about a white Muslim, right? They always be like, doesn't know. He doesn't, man. What is he doing, old Catholic boy? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is he doing?
right.
You know what I'm saying? And Derek, you know what I'm saying? So let me ask you this: what's the difference between because you did a good job explaining the difference between the messenger and the savior.
What's the
You know what I'm
difference
saying? So
between
you did good there.
what's the difference between what?
Allah and others.
Oh, well, Allah is just the word. Allah is Arabic for the word God. The Christian and Jewish population that live in the Middle East, they also refer to him as Allah. Uh, yes, in that sense, it's like, so in that sense, like, the same God that Christians and the Jewish population worship is the same God. We merely just have a different name. We merely just have different name, kind of like a different name. I believe. I'm not sure what the Jewish population refers to him as, but it's merely the same. It's merely the same God. And then, I mean,
Yeah,
when it comes
isn't
to,
it Yahweh? Isn't that what the Jewish people say about
I
God?
think
They say
it's
Yahweh
Yahweh.
or yeah, Yahweh or Yahweh, and then Jesus is Yahshua. So and
Yahshua.
then
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Okay, so
They,
are you? So it's the same God in the Bible, the same God in the Quran.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it's just Allah is just
Hmm.
Arabic for Allah is just Arabic for God, and it's the same God. We just have different interpretations of what of his teachings.
So are you not caught up in uh my religion is right, your religion is wrong? Are you caught up in
No,
that?
I don't really like to say I'm like caught up. I don't really like to say I'm caught up into it. Like, it's just what, personally, in my opinion, it's just like I just don't want. I don't like to push. I don't like to push my beliefs onto other people, and I just hope that people are able to do the same. But if somebody were to ask me about if somebody was to ask me for information about Islam, I'll give them all that I'm able to, and if I'm not able to, I'll definitely try to give them some literature to hopefully be able to answer their questions.
So like, what do you say, bro, to we talk about real stuff here on the conversation, bro. Like,
It's definitely funny.
what do you say? What do you say about the Muslims that say that white people are devils?
Are you? I want to ask right now. Are you referring to the Nation of Islam?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'd like to say that for me, in my opinion, not even my opinion, it's just like the teachings of the Nation of Islam, where it's the idea that the idea that a half I believe he was like New Zealand, half Persian man magically appears and claims himself to be God, is immediately one thing that's like what we refer to as takfiri, which is against the teachings of Allah. So like that idea right there. However, what they've done for their communities, is just something that I have profound respect for. It's just on the aspect of teachings. it's kind of like I can't see eye to I can't really see eye to eye with that, you know.
Well, they believe that white people were made by evil scientists named Yakub.
Yeah, Yakub, and it would say like white people were a lab accident.
Like, what do you say to that, bro? What do you say to that?
I
They
mean,
saying that you're like for real. Like,
I
I'm
know.
being honest because when white people be like blacks are like porch monkeys and this and that, you know what I'm saying? I got something to say about that. If man, look, man, like when they said that black people were savages, you know what I'm saying? I had something to say about that. You know what I'm
right,
saying? When they said we were 3/5 of a man, I got something to say about that.
most
There's a
definitely.
whole religion being taught that the white man was made by evil scientists through I guess I don't know through genetics. You know what I'm saying? Through genetics, and the nature of the white man is evil. What do you got? What you
Um,
say to that?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. At least what I've noticed within the last year, like the white man, like the white attitude is definitely a little sinister. Is definitely a little sinister, but like I would say in general, it's like young brother, like brothers, that's not what Islam is. Like that is not what the that is not what the teachings of Allah like explain to us. And for personally for myself, I would actively encourage you to I would actively encourage you look into the look into some aspects of what I would refer to as Orthodox Sunni Islam, which is the predominant sect of Islam worldwide.
Because even Islam has different sectors in it, just to that Christianity had different sectors too earlier in the
Right,
conversation, right?
right,
So
definitely.
yeah, so like yeah, I think you answered that okay. I think you did okay with that. I think you did better than you thought you were going to do. But
No, I don't like to speak. I don't like to speak on the Nation of Islam because I don't really have like a full grip on everything they like all of their teaching. So it's just like I didn't want to say the wrong thing and then just have like a
I
bunch
don't
like
know,
have
bro.
people just getting angry with me.
Oh, they're gonna be mad because you just came for the head of the Nation of Islam. You just said that pretty much his whole existence is faulty, and then you even discredited him by not really calling him black. Like you said what he was mixed with, you know what I'm saying, and then he magically
I mean
appeared, and
that
his
comes from
teachings
a
are not. Hold on, and you said his teachings are not in line with Allah's. So, bro, you may not want to speak on it, but you came for his head, bro. You can't.
no. I mean I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I learned with I learned under like a lot of the scholars and a lot of the scholars and individuals I studied under come from predominantly African American. So they've kind of like they've taught kind of just like kind of like reiterated some of the their like they kind of showed me what they like and they showed me like what they like how they able to explain the like why they feel may feel particular about the Nation of Islam, and they're able to explain that to me, and I compare that with the teachings of the Quran and the hadiths and the like sayings and actions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and it's just like, no, this doesn't, no, these aren't the same thing.
So let me ask you this. So I hear a lot of like saying you're proud to be a follower of Allah. You're proud to be a Muslim. You're proud to be an anti-racist. You're proud. You're proud to lend your voice to the struggle. You have a lot of things that you're proud about. Are you proud to be a white male?
um,
Do you have white pride?
I think the way I would answer that is just like I'm proud of the white male that I am, like the white male that's able to speak out about speak out about the injustices and be able to be able to show people that like Islam is not this foreign religion. It's not this like this foreign religion that like you can only find not find thousands of miles away. Like I like to say I have pride in being the white man that I am myself, because I'm able to like show people. I'm able to show people that like I'm able to show people all these different things that they might not have experienced, being able to see or experience otherwise.
All right, and one last question for you, bro. Do you feel as if, I know I asked you earlier how you were using your white privilege to the movement, and I think you did a very good job answering that question. But some would say that you're wasting your white privilege on others and not for your own betterment. What do you say?
Um. Well, first I was about to say. First of all, I think that's just kind of like I think that's not really something that like personally I could do for myself, because I mean in my opinion, in order for me to actually be like the better version, the best version of myself, as I mentioned that I aspire to do earlier on, is that like I have to be able to do that. Like I have to be able to do that on my own. I don't need the idea. Like even though I don't like that there are numerous times that like the that like my white privilege has benefited me and has given me advancement and opportunities that like my my BIPOC peers are weren't able to necessarily experience. But it's not one of those things where it's just like I don't actively want to continue to promote this actively promote this cycle that me as a white man is am going to do better. I'm going to do better in life simply because of the color of my skin. And I definitely just want to uh, just pursue the idea of dismantling the idea of white privilege, because one thing I remember, because like one thing that kind of like speaking on that kind of just really stuck out to me with that was I remember right after I got arrested, somebody like while I was sharing everything, everyone was there was somebody who was just like, oh, it's like, bro, you're white. Why do you try to act Muslim? And that was one of those things that just like really just kind of like stuck with me, because it's just like, first of all, I am a Muslim. Like, second of all, like the idea of like, and this is something I want to throw out there as well. The idea of a white Muslim isn't really this crazy idea, because you have countries in Europe. You have Albania, Bosnia, Chechnya, and in Chechnya, for like here's three examples that are all predominantly like white European countries that have a Muslim majority. So the idea of a white Muslim isn't exactly the super far fetched idea. I think it's the fact that it's like I'm white American male. I'm a white American male who became a Muslim and wasn't raised a Muslim is what like people just like are immediately kind of like thrown off and made uncomfortable with, you know?
No, I definitely feel you, bro. Hey, go ahead, run your tags, bro. Let everybody know where they can find you at.
All right. Find me on Facebook, Brendan Rabbitt. Two T's, two T's and Rabbitt. Find me on Instagram, Rabbitt, Rabbitt, Rahim, Rahim. And I think I think and I would say my and then my I say check out my photography. Check out my photography Instagram. The Rabbitt are spelled like my last name. Photos, Photos. And I was about to say, is there anything else I can I leave out? Is there anything? Am I able to say something else before we end it?
Go.
Just a heads up. Just a heads up. This is gonna be this is something that's about to come in. It's about to say this in Spanish. You know, this is for because I had some people watching from outside the country. You know.
All right, go ahead, bro.
Muchas gracias a mi gente latino, y después de la pandemia me vaya por ustedes. Vámonos.
I don't know
Most
what he said,
definitely.
but it sounded in good spirits.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, they'll know what I mean. They'll know exactly what I mean. Um. Yeah. That's really all I got to say.
And that's what's going on. All right, man. Wait, I appreciate you coming on, man. Guys, remember you guys
Appreciate you
can
having
watch
me,
us
man.
on Facebook Live. Yeah, not a problem, man. You guys watch us on Facebook Live on Tuesdays at 10:15. It's on our Facebook page. That's the Great Conversations Talk. Also, if you guys we're looking for different scenarios, send us some whispers at the Great Conversation Let's Talk at gmail.com, or you can send us a message right there on our Facebook page or one of our Instagrams or whatnot. All this stuff will be in the links below, guys. There's a lot of stuff to keep repeating to y'all. Okay, let's keep it 1,000. All right, so this Spotify, anywhere else that you guys podcast listen to, look up the Great Conversation Podcast. I am -X, and always remember, you don't always have to agree to have a great conversation. Peace.